Is that yours? Oh.
Hey, am I going, sir?
Okay to just lay it down, or do I need to put it on?
You have a good voice. I think you're fine just laying it down.
That's a very nice way to say that.
You do. No, you do. Your voice projects well. Is John coming up here today? Oh, well. I'm turning mine, so tell him it's on. Turn it on, too.
Oh, there we go.
Your mic's on, so. Your mic is
First, yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning and welcome to the Bullitt County Fiscal Court. Today is September 1, 2020. I'd like to have Keith Griffey come up and give the invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Y'all pray with me. Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to come together. Be with each one of the leaders as they make decisions that impact the entire county. Lord, be with everyone in here to have an open mind and an open heart. Lord, be with this state, this country, and this county as we go forward. Protect us and keep us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Thank you, Keith.
Just wanted everybody to see how clear that radio is.
Candy, call the roll, please.
Dennis Mitchell,
Yes.
John Austin,
Yes.
John Laswell,
Here.
John Rahal,
Yes.
Doug Summers.
Yes. Court's in session. Treasurer's transfer report.
Good morning. In your packet also laid out for today was a revenue transfer report dated for August 19th for your approval, and also an expenditure transfer report dated for August the 31st for your approval.
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion by First District Magistrate Mitchell, a second by Second District Magistrate Logsdon to approve the Treasurer's transfer report as presented. Candy, call the roll.
Magistrate Logsdon,
Yes.
Magistrate Laswell,
Yes.
Magistrate Rahal,
Yes.
Doug Summers,
Yes.
Magistrate Mitchell.
Yes.
Thank you. Number 5, presentation and approval of all bills.
Make a motion to approve all the bills. Second.
Got a motion by Third District Magistrate Laswell, a second by Fourth District Magistrate Rahal to approve all bills as presented. In discussion. Candy, call the roll, please.
Magistrate Laswell,
Yes.
Magistrate Rahal,
Yes.
Doug Summers,
Yes,
Magistrate Mitchell,
Yes.
Magistrate Logsdon.
Yes.
thank you. Need approval of minutes for the August 18th August 18th meeting of 2020.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes dated August 18th, 2020.
Second.
Got a motion by Second District Magistrate Logsdon, a second by Fourth District Magistrate Rahal to approve the minutes as presented for August 18th, 2020. Any discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, Candy, call the roll, please.
Vice Chair Rahal?
Yes.
Vice Chair, Judge Summers?
Yes,
Vice Chair Mitchell?
Yes.
Vice Chair Lobson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Laswell?
Yes.
thank you. And we have a presentation today by Larry Hatfield, our solid waste coordinator for cleanup days. Larry?
I just wanted to go over this with you. It's been a while since I talked to everyone about it. Hey, Joe.
Hey, buddy.
We had a very unusual year,
Thank
to say the least. I'll go over these numbers briefly with you all. We had a total of 79 dumpsters. The bid on the dumpsters was $575, which was, Rumpke was $45,425. Recycling expense, $3,465. Restrooms, $325. Food, gloves, etc. Some tools were involved in that, $1,087.35. Now, I figured the county labor in this year, and normally, because y'all wanted y'all to see exactly what, most of the time, that's paid through their line item. That kind of goes unnoticed. But the county labor was $8,874.41, and then the contract labor with people that I hired was $8,630.72 for a total of $67,807.48. Now, a lot of people ask me, why do we recycle when we don't make money? So the revenue we took in for the 9 recycling dumpsters, which would make us a total of 88 total, was $2,089.10, was the check the county received. If you take the recycling expense of $3,465 minus $2,089.10, we had a loss of $1,375.90. But the way I look at this, if we did not have the 9 recycling dumpsters, we would have had to have spent $5,175 more on Rumpke than we did. So if you take what we would have spent with Rumpke minus what we lost, we still come out about $3,800 a year. Savings is the way I look at that. We recycled 32.14 tons that didn't go to a landfill. But these are the first 2 days, we ran 5 trucks nonstop. The 3, Lebanon Junction, Nichols, and Shepherdville, we ran 7 trucks nonstop. So we were extremely busy. It's the biggest cleanup days we've had in 16 years that I've been doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So if any of you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer it.
What you do on the contract labor, what do you use the contract labor for? The contract labor, what did you use there?
Contract labor was the $30 an hour for the people, the additional people. We don't have enough road department personnel. And I have to have at least 14 to 15 at the larger places. And none of them ever got any rest. So that's why we done the contract labor. Normally, with the inmates, they would have saved us about $9,000, but I couldn't get the inmates out of jail this year. So they jacked the cost up, and but everything went well. We did have one guy gets about 15 stitches put in his leg, but it was none of our employees or none of the contract people. He accidentally did it himself. Any more questions?
No, thank you for doing that. I know in our area, just a lot of people, well, all over the county actually, but a lot of people really, really appreciate this. And I think the biggest complaint is we can't do it more often. But I mean, I think with this year and the pandemic, a lot of people was forced to stay at home. So maybe, you know, gave them a little more opportunity to clean up around their property and do different things. So that's probably a testament to why we had, you know, the biggest one ever.
Exactly.
But thanks for all your help and everything,
Appreciate it.
getting it done.
Yep.
And And one more thing, Director Hatfield, the date of the, what I'm gonna say, the industrial waste? Or the
Household hazardous waste
Yes, uh-huh,
will be set for October the 10th,
fairground.
8 to 12, Bullitt County Fairgrounds. So any of your household waste, your paint, no tires. The state did call me last week and told me that they were gonna try to work me in either November, October or November for our waste tire event. I'm gonna if I have it, if we get to have it this year, I'm gonna put it over behind Clark Country. There's a big area over there, people can get in, get out easy. And, but the household hazardous waste is October the 10th, 8 to 12 at Bullitt County Fairgrounds.
Good deal.
Any questions, call the judge's office, or you can call my office. Any questions from magistrates, judge?
Good. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Director Hatfield.
I'll see y'all next year.
Okay. New business, second reading of ordinance 20-12, Antonio Santero Jr.
This will be a second reading, Commonwealth, Kentucky County of Bullitt, zoning ordinance number 20-12. An ordinance relating to the changing of zoning of certain property from agricultural to R1 residential. The property in question is 9.46 acres more or less, located at 686 Alpar Lane in an unincorporated area of the county. Whereas the fiscal court of the Bullitt Counties consider the evidence of the public hearing held by the Joint Planning Commission and the recommendations of the commission, the information provided in the staff report of the Office of Bullitt County Planning and Zoning, and the testimony and evidence presented at the public hearing held by the fiscal court. Whereas the fiscal court concurs in and adopts the reasons of the Joint Planning Commission for said zoning change and approves and accepts the recommendations of the Planning Commission in this matter as set out in said minutes, and determines that the proposed zoning change is acceptable and should be approved. And now therefore be it ordained by the fiscal court of County of Bullitt, Commonwealth, Kentucky. Section 1, that the above property located in the unincorporated area of Bullitt County, and more particularly described in the minutes and records of the Planning Commission in docket number 2020Z-13, is hereby changed from agricultural to R1 residential. Section 2, this ordinance take effect upon passage of publication as required by law. Section 3, should any section provision or part of this ordinance be declared unconstitutional or invalid for any reason by a court of competent jurisdiction, then the remainder of this ordinance shall not be affected and shall remain in full force and effect. Section 4, all ordinances and resolutions to the extent they are inconsistent herewith are hereby repealed. Given first reading and public hearing at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 18th day of August 2020. Given second reading and voted upon at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the first day of September 2020.
Thank you, Rob. Joey's.
Judge, on this one here, I've been thinking a lot about it. Last time, I don't know if that gentleman's here. He's gonna take this road, come off Alpar, it's a driveway now, and he's wanting to put 3 or 4 houses on this driveway. Then we get back into private roads and who maintains it and this and that, and people are buying lots off these private roads. And, I think I'd like to pass this one to the next meeting and see if I can see what I need to do on making that. If he's gonna put 3 or 4 houses on that road, he needs to do some kind of stipulation on that road, widen it, do something, bring it up to county specs or whatever. If he's gonna make it, one house is one house, but more than one house is a subdivision to me.
Okay. So,
I'd just like to make a recommendation that we pass, table it
table it, yes, sir.
to the next meeting, if that's okay. Well, I guess I need a second.
I'll second that motion. Any other discussion, gentlemen? Candy, call the roll.
Judge Sumner?
Yes.
Magistrate Fiscal?
Yes.
Magistrate Lawson?
Yes.
Magistrate Laswell?
Yes.
Magistrate Trader?
Thank you. Table ordinance, zoning ordinance 20-12 to the 15th meeting. Rob? Second reading of ordinance 20-13, River Homes, Inc.
To be Commonwealth of Kentucky, County of Bullitt, zoning ordinance number 20-13. An ordinance relating to the changing of zoning of certain property from R1 residential to R3 residential with restrictions. The property in question is 42.116 acres, more or less, located at 300 Griffiths Lane in an unincorporated area of the county. Whereas the Fiscal Court of Bullitt County has considered the evidence of the public hearing held by the Joint Planning Commission and the recommendations of the Commission, the information provided in the staff report of the Office of Bullitt County Planning and Zoning, and the testimony and evidence presented at the public hearing held by the Fiscal Court. Whereas the Fiscal Court concurs in and adopts the reasons of the Joint Planning Commission for said zoning change and approves and accepts the recommendations of the Planning Commission in this matter as set out in said minutes, and determines that the proposed zoning change is acceptable and should be approved. Now therefore be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of County of Bullitt, Commonwealth of Kentucky, Section 1, the above property located in the unincorporated area of Bullitt County, and more particularly described in the minutes and records of the Planning Commission in docket number 2020Z-15, is hereby changed from R1 residential to R3 residential with restrictions. Section 2, this ordinance will take effect upon passage and publication as required by law. Section 3, should any section, provision, or part of this ordinance be declared unconstitutional or invalid for any reason by a court of competent jurisdiction, then the remainder of this ordinance shall not be affected and shall remain in full force and effect. Section 4, all ordinances and resolutions, to the extent they are inconsistent herewith, are hereby repealed. Given first reading and public hearing at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 18th day of August 2020. Given second reading and voted upon at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the first day of September 2020.
Thank you, Rob.
Members of the court, I'm like Joe. I'd like to make a recommendation that we table this to the next meeting because I'm really, really concerned about the safety of the folks in that area right there. And the way it stands right now, if they're going to stay with the R3, I'm very much opposed to that because of the safety of the people. Traffic is backed up all the way to I-65 during the rush traffic. There's no way that we can get the emergency responders like the sheriff's department, the EMS, and in this area and everything, when this traffic is all backed up, we could lose some lives in that area right there if we don't do something with it. So right now, I'd like to table it and see if there's something that could be worked out. And if they go with the R1 like they've already got, that's not a big problem. Nothing compared to what the R3 would be. So I would like to make a motion that we table this to the next meeting to see what could be worked out as far as the transportation. And the other thing, I want a detailed situation on the drainage. Because the drainage is, the way this drainage and everything is, we're having major, major problems all over the county right now with the drainage. I know they've got the retention bases in. When you get an inch of rain, you get 27,154 gallons of water on 1 inch of rain. Now, I know you have your egress flow and everything coming out of these retention bases. 5 weeks ago, I had 2.5 inches of rain at my house from 2 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock in the morning. That's a lot of water. That's a lot of water. So those are my big, big concerns. I would like to see something certified on the water and the certification and everything from the transportation cabinet in regards. Give me a transportation study, how this is going to impact the area. That's what I'm looking for before I make a decision on this. Now, the court can do something else if they want to and everything, but I would like to make a motion. We table this to the next meeting. If that's sufficient time for the attorneys to come up with my traffic study and my water flow, because the way it is right now, I do not support it as it is right now. So I'm going to put that in form of motion that we table that to the next meeting.
Got a motion by 1st District Magistrate Mitchell and a second by 4th District Magistrate Rayhill. Let me make sure I have this clear. To table zoning ordinance 20-13 River Homes, Inc. for a traffic study and the retention basins.
The certification on both of them.
Okay, and the definition of certification is what, John?
The motion and second silence, so at this point it's time for a call for a vote.
Okay. Any other discussion, gentlemen?
No, just kind of maybe reiterate on yours. I mean, this is obviously Dennis District, so I mean, but what kind of timeline are you thinking about, or?
Well, if 2 weeks is sufficient for them, if it's not, go months. However long it takes you to get this certification. That's my main concern, is the drainage and the traffic flow, for the safety of the people.
Okay. Any other discussion? Candy, call the roll.
Magistrate Mitchell?
Yes.
Magistrate Lockton?
Yes.
Magistrate Allen? Yes. Magistrate Rahal? Yes. Mayor Summers?
Yes. Actions, number 4, actions requested to hire EMS personnel, see attached. Director Walls.
Okay, so I know that I've been up here a lot requesting new hires, but I wanted to put something into perspective today. Out of the 4 paramedics that we've had on the agenda over the past several months, 4 of them did not come on. They have, although they accepted the offer, they've declined. They were all out of state, and they've decided not to move back to Kentucky for whatever reasons. So I've lost 4 of those potential new hires. So just so you know where I'm at. As of 8 o'clock this morning, we have 29 basic EMTs, 7 advanced EMTs, for a total of 36. The goal is to have 7 trucks on the road every day, during the day, 5 at night. In order to do that, I need a total of 72 personnel, and I'm still not there. So just so you know, and just because they come on and they start precepting and training, that doesn't mean that they make it. Maybe they don't have the skills, they don't progress through training, and we have to let them go. So we work with them, and unfortunately we've had to let a couple of them go for whatever reason because they didn't progress through training. But I just wanted to kind of wrap that up, just so you know where we're at. We did have several people accept and then decline. Questions? Okay.
Well,
All
let
right.
me ask you something. What percentage are we going up on EMS runs and everything per year? And I go back to 1990 and everything, and I know it has gradually moves up continuously and everything. What percentage are we moving up every year on EMS runs?
But right now, we're about 12,000 annually. That's what we're doing about now. Now, this year has been unique because with the COVID crisis, the numbers from March to June declined a little bit, but they're picking right back up.
We don't know what percentage it would be from one year where it's at and everything. You could probably run that, because I know it's gradually increasing and everything. It really is and everything, because with our census reports gonna come in here real quick and everything, it's just going to keep climbing and everything.
Correct, and
And
with
we
all the
gotta watch out.
warehouses and the calls that we make to Amazon and to all the different, business districts.
I mean, we gotta be prepared for the future, because we gotta keep watching this thing that's going on, not just act to it react to it just on a month-to-month basis. We gotta be looking forward to this thing as time goes on, so that way we can kind of get a handle on it.
Right,
You can find that out for me, I appreciate it.
okay. The percentage we've increased over the last, 5 years?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, so I put in front of you a new packet. We do have some folks coming on the 8th, and then 2 on the 21st. They're EMTs. One's going to be an advanced, and we did have a part-time paramedic asked to come full-time, and he'll go fill a night shift slot where we had a paramedic. She left, Sunday was her last shift. She's going off to PA school. So,
Their names.
okay, so we have David Willen, Tony King, Ryan Clark, Emily McGrath, David Weiler, and Jerry Etheridge.
Okay. Good. Thank you. I'll make a motion to hire the attached list for the new hires for Bullitt County EMS.
Second motion.
Got a second by First District Magistrate Mitchell. Any discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none. Candy, call the roll, please.
Magistrate Lawson?
Yes.
Magistrate Lightfoot? Yes. Magistrate Rayhill?
Yes.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Magistrate Mitchell?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Actions requested to supplement property from EMS and Director Harden.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Judge. This is the area we covered several months ago about dedicating surplus equipment to the school board when dispatch finally moved out. In your package, you should have two. One of them is dispatch equipment, the other one is the ambulance. We've had the school officials come down, do a tour through it, and they've indicated they want most or all of this stuff here to take with them to the dispatch center. As I understand, it's going to go to Bullitt East. We've talked to them up there. They're ready to start on it as soon as we officially surplus today. And my request here is that y'all surplus the dispatch equipment and also approve us transferring it to the school board to be used at Bullitt East as a pathway class. I've had a couple of people ask me, could we sell this stuff? Sure, we could sell some of it, I think, make a few dollars, but the judge, Rhonda, and I have met with the school officials on multiple times. We look at it as an investment into our kids' future. These young high school boys and girls up there, they pick this pathway and eventually they wind up as a dispatcher somewhere. Here, Bullitt County, State Police, Louisville, somewhere. So we looked at it as an investment, and that's what I hope that the entire court looks at it, is just an investing in our young boys and girls' education future. I priced it at $50,000. We could have put more or less. That's just a kind of a guess at what some of this stuff is worth. Most of it is, you could set it out here on the sidewalk and nobody'd even take it. It's that old and broken down, but the school officials have some IT people, they want to use it, put it together for the kids. And again, my request is surplus it and let us donate it to Bullitt, to the Board of Education.
Okay.
Need a motion on that?
Yes, I
Wow.
need a motion, and it needs to help you a little bit, Sean. We need to surplus it for $1 to them. We can't give it to them.
Okay, well, I'll be glad to make a motion. First of all, I've seen a lot of good PR. I've seen a lot of stuff out there about, I know the Chambers put out a lot of stuff. A couple of news stations picked up the relationship that you all have built, with the school board. I think that's great. And obviously, anything we can do to strengthen that relationship and try to build that pipeline is good. So I'll make a motion that the following items presented be donated to the Bullitt County School Board and surplus by the EMS at $1. Does that need to be individually for each item or total $1? John? $1 total at the cost of $1.
Second motion.
Okay, I got a motion by Second District Magistrate Logston to surplus the attached list of dispatch equipment for $1 to the Bullitt County School Board to be used at Bullitt East for a career path for future dispatchers in our county or other existing dispatch services. I got a second by First District Magistrate Mitchell. Any other discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none. Candy, call the roll, please.
Magistrate Laszlo? Yes. Magistrate Rayhill?
Yes.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Magistrate Mitchell?
Yes.
Magistrate Lawson?
Yes.
Thank you. Dr.
Second is our EMS pathway. Judge and Rhonda and I again talked with school officials. We met with them over here. JCTC's all involved. There was, at last count, was 19 boys and girls from 3 different high schools going to get in this. They wanted, and we suggested, give them an ambulance. This is what we want to. We want to surplus it and provide this to the Board of Education this week if we can. They're ready to start pretty quickly. And again, you can see here it's an F-350. Mileage is 307,000. It's still pretty solid. We've got it cleaned up. It's ready to be used. We want to give them one of our manual stretchers so they can continue to start working with that also. The total price on that, we guessed about $10,000. So my request is surplus this let us transfer it to the Board of Education to be used in their EMS pathway.
I'll make the same motion that, I'll make a motion that we accept the recommendation by Director Harden to surplus a Ford E350 and manual stretcher at the cost of $1 to the Bullitt County School Board.
I'll second that motion, but I also want to ask Kenny while he's here, the class and the program that they're putting on at the schools and everything right now, how do these EMTs and everything, how is this going to work with them and everything when they're out there, when they get their certifications and everything, on their CDL license? I know that unless they've changed the law, and John could refresh my memory on this or tell me about this and everything, the CDL license, I don't think they can get them till they're 21. How can that work and everything, and has that law been changed? Because I know to drive a truck and everything, you gotta be 21. It used to be that way, and whether it's been changed or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
You're not required to have a CDL.
No.
None of them have to have CDL?
No, they just have to go through our driver's training, our
Okay.
CEVO.
Oh, good.
They have to go through an all-day driver's training class with Mr. Vincent. He does all the driver's training.
Okay,
It's through the state. It's called
Okay.
CEVO.
that's good. That's what I wanted to find out and everything, because anybody I see, I encourage them to go to that class if they're interested in doing that and everything, and they gotta be dedicated to do it.
Yeah, the Commonwealth will not let these kids take their test until they're 18 years old.
Okay,
At 18, the Commonwealth will let them test. If they pass, they get a set of numbers, is what they call, and that's what you use when you go apply for a position of EMT.
okay.
We hope that this will lead to EMT advanced, paramedics, and maybe even, somewhere in the future, physicians may come out of this. It's, these kids have been really looked at. They want to get into this medical field. It's, as we've said here before, it's demanding, not only Kentucky, across the nation. Everybody has shortages. Everybody is scrambling for these emergency medical technicians and paramedics.
Right.
So, again, we think it's a good investment
It is.
in our high school future.
It is very much. I just wanted to get the clarification on that. All right, thank you, Kenny.
Thank you all. I have a motion by Second District Magistrate Logston and a second by First District Magistrate Mitchell to approve the transfer to the Bullitt County Board of Education for our EMS Career Pathway Program, a used F-350 ambulance with 300,000+ miles on it for their use and training. Any other discussion? Candy, call the roll, please.
Magistrate Rahal? Yes. Ms. Summers?
Yes,
Magistrate Mitchell?
Yes.
Magistrate Logston?
Yes.
Magistrate Platt?
thank you all. Actions requested on order of allowance to the Board of Assessment Appeals. And what that is, gentlemen, that's to pay for the board for the, when your property's assessed, they get a stipend for that. I think it's $50 a meeting, is that correct, Ken Ann? Okay. Got a motion by 4th District Magistrate Rahal, a second by 3rd District Magistrate Laswell to approve the Board of Assessment Appeals allowance. Candy, call the roll, please.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Magistrate Mitchell?
Yes.
Magistrate Logston?
Yes.
Magistrate Laswell? Yes. Magistrate Rahal?
Thank you. Actions requested on the lease agreement for the Commonwealth Attorney's Office space.
It's the same area that it had before, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Same area and the same price, is that correct, John?
Put in formal motion.
Okay,
Second.
Judge,
yes,
you have to decide how long you want to make the lease.
1 year, it's 1 year.
So that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
They're only giving $8 a square foot for commercial property.
Mhm.
You might want to try to negotiate that next time. Maybe I wouldn't go no longer than a year.
Yeah. All right. Okay,
Put that in motion.
yeah.
I will. I would, yeah.
Second.
So we have a motion by First District Magistrate Mitchell to renew the current lease agreement with the Commonwealth of Attorney's Office space and negotiate next year with the change in the price per square foot. And second by Second District Magistrate Logsdon. Any other discussion? Candy, call the roll.
Magistrate Mitchell?
Yes.
Magistrate Lawson?
Yes.
Magistrate Ladwell? Yes. Magistrate Rahal?
Yes.
Judge Summers?
Yes. Actions requested on surplus items from the Sheriff's Office. There's a list attached in your packet.
Been here long, so some of us been here a long, long time.
Older than we are?
I'd say some of it may be,
Really?
some of it may not be.
Okay.
Pardon?
No, just kidding.
I make a motion to surplus the sheriff's department's list.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion by Fourth District Magistrate Rahal, a second by Second District Magistrate Logsdon to surplus the attached list of 70 items from the Sheriff's Department to be surplus. Any other discussion, gentlemen? Sam, call the roll, please. Candy, call the roll.
Magistrate Lawson?
Yes.
Magistrate Ladwell? Yes. Magistrate Rahal?
Yes.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Magistrate Mitchell?
Yes.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Sheriff. Second reading and action requested on ordinance 20-14, repealing ordinance 2000-46 relating to the adoption of the Bullitt County Government Employee Handbook. Rob?
The Commonwealth of Kentucky County, Bullitt County, ordinance number 20-14. An ordinance repealing ordinance number 00-46 relating to the adoption of the Bullitt County Government Employee Handbook. Whereas the administrative code of the fiscal court of Bullitt County sets forth in chapter 10, section 5, that the judge executive shall be responsible for the creation, distribution, and maintenance of a personnel policy and procedure handbook, subject to the approval of fiscal court. Whereas the current personnel policies and procedures handbook, commonly referred to as the Bullitt County Government Employee Handbook, was adopted by the Bullitt County Fiscal Court under ordinance number 00-46. Whereas fiscal court determines it's in the best interest to repeal ordinance number 00-46 and proceed with creation, distribution, and maintenance of a personnel policy and procedure handbook pursuant to the provisions of the administrative code. Now therefore be ordained by the fiscal court of County of Bullitt, Commonwealth of Kentucky. Section 1, Bullitt County Ordinance number 00-46 is hereby repealed in its entirety. The Bullitt County Judge Executive shall proceed with the creation, distribution, and maintenance of a personnel policy and procedure handbook, subject to the approval of the fiscal court as set forth in the administrative code. Section 2, the current Bullitt County Government Employee Handbook and personnel policies and procedures contained therein shall remain in full force and effect until such time as amended, revised, repealed, or replaced by action of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court. Section 3, should any section, subdivision, sentence, or clause of this ordinance be held unconstitutional or invalid for any reason by any court of competent jurisdiction, then such portion shall be deemed as separate, distinct, and independent provision, and such holding shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance. Section 4, this ordinance take effect upon passage and publication as required by law. Section 5, all ordinances and resolutions, to the extent they are inconsistent herewith, are hereby repealed. Given first reading at a regular meeting of the Fiscal Court of Bullitt County, Kentucky on the 18th day of August, 2020. Given second reading and voted upon at a regular meeting of the Fiscal Court of Bullitt County, Kentucky on the first day of September, 2020.
Thank you, Rob. I'll second that motion. Got a motion by Fourth District Magistrate Rahal to approve ordinance 20-14, repealing ordinance 2046 relating to the adoption of the new Bullitt County Government Handbook.
And Rob, once again, this is just repealing that ordinance. I mean, as far as the handbook, I haven't really seen a physical copy of the updated handbook. That will follow, that doesn't follow hand in hand with this, does it? Is this approving the new handbook or just the?
No, this isn't approving the new handbook. This just kind of opens the door for that process to move forward, because as long as this ordinance is still in place, you can't do it without amending the ordinance.
Yeah.
The administrative code that the court adopted, I think, back in 2015, actually changed the requirement for the creation and maintenance of the handbook to be the judge executive, subject to the court's approval.
Yeah, and we talked about
this. So this is just trying to make the ordinance process consistent with your administrative code and let us move forward now with getting that handbook ready and presenting to you. But this leaves the current one in place until something else is approved.
Okay.
It just
And
gets
and
this
we talked
over.
about this last meeting. I'm just asking the question to hear it again,
Yeah,
so
this-
anybody here may
This
not.
ordinance has been there for 20 years, and it's kind of been a roadblock because it required a lot more complicated process. This will give a little more flexibility to the
Second
court in
reading of the ordinance
changing
to
policies
create
moving
a new
forward.
handbook.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. Any other discussion?
Are you gonna be the ones working on this, Rob?
Sorry?
Are you the one that's gonna be working on this?
I've been working with Kay and with Rhonda. They've got drafts. I've been working on some revisions and suggestions. Rhonda and I have met a couple times, probably for 6-7 hours, going through it page by page.
Okay.
And now, I'm working on writing up some things for them to get back to them, and then they'll proceed from that point. I don't know how they're gonna do from there.
Well, I'm excited about, getting this updated. We've had a lot of issues and, more than we'd like, and obviously this is something that needs to be done, and I appreciate all the work that everybody's put in it, Kay and
The
Rhonda.
draft's about 120 pages long, so it's
Yeah.
taking a little time with all my free time that I have.
And I just brought up a question just to remind people we're not accepting a handbook at this point, but just making the steps to get it going, so, all right.
That's fine, because Rob, I wanna get with you just on a particular issue about with the handbook, so I wanna talk to you later on.
Absolutely.
Okay. Sam, call roll.
Motion Laszlo? Yes. Motion Radio?
Yes.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Motion Mitchell?
Yes.
Motion Lawson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Your sign-in sheet.
You have to get a name tag down there, Candy.
Thank you. Rob Bleedy.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
I'm doing this on the.
Back again.
Bring it up here.
Thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to at least voice our opinions on what's going on up in the areas we're concerned with. I've given you guys a photo album, placed it in front of you, because I wanted you to be able to see areas that we were talking about, or at least I was talking about last time, of the problems with the dumping up on Brooks Hill. And yes, sir, that's yours, and Mr. Laswell, yours is in front of you. And these pictures are in order, this being the first page right here, and then we'll turn from there. The area we were talking about was where the excavation site, or the business of the excavation company is trying to go into, or trying to rezone it to make it so they can continue dumping and whatever they need to do with those dump trucks that's running up and down Brooks Hill all the time. Now, the problem with that is it creates a real hazard to people that's driving up and down that road. I mean, it is dangerous. Several times, and I think we spoke on some of this last time, was that, you'll come up through there and suddenly you'll come around a bend and you'll be facing 2 or 3 dump trucks coming at you. About all of them are usually over the lines, yellow lines, and you're having to pull it over as far as you can and come to a complete stop and hope they don't hit you. Also, the area that was closed during the 20th to the 29th of July, it's between mile marker 7 and mile marker 8. They closed it from 9 o'clock in the morning until 3 o'clock each day, each weekday during that period. So the 20th to the 24th, and then the 27th, 8th, and 9th. The 25th and 6th was weekend. They didn't have it closed at that point. But the area they were working on is the area that's directly in front of where this excavation company is, and I'll show you, I'll talk further about that with the pictures as we go along. But since they were talking about the 7-mile marker to the 8-mile marker, most of these, as you'll see, the first picture I got up there is just as a point of reference, you're seeing the 7-mile marker. The next picture down below that is an area, now this is the road that was just paved in May.
Right.
This is the new pavement area that was just done this year. The next one is you can see where the culvert is washing out. And you can even turn your page and you can see where parts of the new road is breaking off going down into that ditch area. And also you'll see where the neighbor up there has been trying to put stuff down in it to help hold it back to where it doesn't break off as bad. The bottom right-hand corner of your third page, right there, you'll see the culvert and how it's washed. Basically, it's not able to hold the water that's coming down in through that area and crossing the road. And you'll see a lot of damage to the road and slippage as far as that's concerned. Now, if you'll turn to the next page, the first one you'll be seeing is the supports that they put in. This is directly in front of the house and the business where the excavation company is taking place now. They had to put that in to try and help hold the road back. Again, this is part of the new paved area. All of this is from this point to from between the 7 and 8 mile marker. Now, as you look at the top picture, you see that I'm facing east because I just wanted you to get a sense of it from both directions. You'll also see laying there is a piece of railroad. Now, that's what they've got driven into the ground. That's what each one of those posts are, is piece of railroad. You'll see the part that the train would run over is facing down the hill. So the bottom part that you see, the wide part, that's the part that they would drive it onto the railroad ties. And just below that, that's a picture of it facing west. You see I'm standing on the same side of the road that and facing the opposite direction. So is the third picture up on the right-hand side, upper right, and you'll also see where the road has started to break away right there in that photo. Again, that's only part of it, and again, that's all paved, newly paved area. The bottom right-hand corner, that's another small spot, but nevertheless, it's too early for it to be breaking away as far as I'm concerned after just being paved a couple months ago. Now I'm going to turn the page. You'll see damage to the road after they've placed those spikes in, the railroad sections. And at the bottom left-hand page, you'll see a bigger picture of where the road is actually breaking loose and slipping over the hill. Top right, again, is a better picture. It's just from a different view, just a different angle, but it's the same view. It's the same area as the lower left. And the lower right picture is just used as a reference to show you how the ground drops off going over the hill there. There's nothing much to stop it once it goes that point. You see some of it has well, some of it will have guardrails, and some of it now still yet don't have them. If you turn your page again, you'll see the picture of the dump truck, the big white dump truck and so forth. That's just as a reference. That's where the business is. And again, it lies directly across the street from where they did the road repairs and had to shut everything down. Those, the picture below it is just another photo just to show, again, part of the operation. It's really not anything to do with the road breakage, other than they have a good portion of what's been done to cause it. Up in your top right picture, you'll see a picture of the red dump truck that's coming. I'm standing in front of this gentleman's yard. I'm actually on the road when I took the pictures. And that happens to be, as I found out in a few moments from the time I took this picture, that was the owner of the excavation company up there. And he didn't like me out there. He didn't like me out there at all. But you can see his truck as he's driving it. is across the yellow lines already, and that's in a pretty straight area. And you'll see that on both of those pictures. It shows his truck. He was one, he stopped me on the road. He stopped his truck in the road, wanted to know what I was doing. I said, I'm taking pictures. He said, what of? I said, of the road, to show some of the damage, because we got a meeting on Monday. I wasn't lying to the guy. I wasn't gonna make up stuff. And there was cars coming from the opposite direction. I had to step off onto the easement. He didn't like that. He said I was on his property. I told him I'm not on your property. I'm on state easement at this point because that's a state road. He said, you let me park this truck. It was trying to be a little bit intimidating. I didn't go for it, but in any case, just we got a issue with his business, and he doesn't care about anybody but himself, I don't believe. What I'm afraid of is going to happen, and that this is, you know, I'm getting old and so forth, and I'm not as wild and crazy as I used to be, but I care more about this country's future, because right now it don't look good. But the kids, when the schools start coming again, with these dump trucks running up and down there, it's just a matter of time before they're going to hit. One of these trucks is going to hit one of those school buses, and it's going to injure some people. It's easy to say that, and there's plenty of people out here that could testify to that, or I'm sure would speak for that. It's a wonder that some family hadn't already been killed. You know, it's just ridiculous. What we have to do just to try to go home. Now, if you'll turn the page and you'll see the picture of the mailbox, that mailbox is just to show you the address and everything, because this area of these next pictures that I took here are directly across the street from that mailbox, right in front of that house. And that's just as a point of reference in case somebody wanted to find exactly where it's located. You find that mailbox there, which you can see the address on, and you will find the area of this road. Now, I took the picture from two directions there, one going west, or actually two facing west and one facing east. Down the bottom right corner, that's the one facing east toward my truck. And you can see how much that new pavement has already broke loose. Right. And the road is starting to slip over the hill. Now, just a few more there, and I'll go over real quick. As you see this next picture, as you're going into the curb, or going into the curve down there this is the 8 mile marker. This is, you're standing right within yards of the 8 mile marker, okay? And you can see that road is already starting to slip. Now, the road was a little wet when I took the picture here, so it might not be as easy to make out, but you can easily drive up there and see it yourself. That's one of the most dangerous parts on that road, because that curb, it's almost 60 degrees, something in that area, would you say? And you can't see around it. You get into it and you hope nothing's coming, especially nothing big like that. All too often, you'll run right into something. I mean, not technically, or not run into it, but you'll come upon something coming in your direction. And sometimes it's hard for two pickup trucks to pass in that area, much less the dump trucks. As a matter of fact, the dump trucks have to stop back on a little farther west from where I was standing, or where I was at when I took the picture, because I was in my wife's car then. You'll find Wicker Lane. A lot of times the dump trucks will stack up, pull off the road and stack up in Wicker Lane 2, 3 deep, something like that sometimes.
Waiting on 2 or 3 to come up through.
Waiting so they can pass, because they can't pass in the curb down there. Now, I got just a few more here I wanted to show you. But that's once you get that past the curb, you go down. This is actually taken, And you can see the wife's car sitting over there inside the driveway and so forth. That's at the winery. That part of the road there is breaking off, and as you can see, it's going over the hill also. So there's got to be some major construction coming real quick. The I got 4 more photos I want to talk to you about just a little bit. It's a slightly different area. The one on the top right, I was standing just down from Horseclaw Hill Road, where it cuts off. That's where I actually parked so I could get out and take this picture. This road is breaking off here, as you see, and it's going straight over the hill. No guardrails, no nothing. There's nothing there to stop, except a few trees down in that area. And if you don't hit one, you're gonna be in for a ride, a serious ride. And if that road continues to break off the way it is and the ground continues to slip, it's only a matter of time. You're gonna have to close it anyway as a minimum to fix it. And if you go down just to the next one, this is probably, the bottom right picture was taken probably 50 yards from the top one. This is as you're going into the curb, and you can see how much the road is breaking off there. You come up that thing and your truck will go just like that so you can get around it. But what I wanted to point out in this picture primarily is you can see how much the guardrail posts are leaning over the hill already. The whole area is slipping in that area. This is not something, you know, that you can't see if you just put your eyes over it a little bit. And you can, the other two that's following it are pictures of the same area, just showing you the depth of how much the road has torn apart. And this is a slightly different area, but usually it's all within the same bridge square, if you will.
All right.
That's what we used to say in the Army anyway. Gentlemen, I thank you so very much for listening.
Thank you. And,
Judge, Sumner, it's a pleasure, and I just hope that, just consider the people, don't consider 1 or 2 companies that's out there trying to change everything. Consider all the people that live there.
Right.
You know, these are our homes. It's where we raised our kids, or we want to continue raising our kids. We don't want to see anybody get killed because so one man can get rich. Right. Go find someplace else to run your business. You leave your house up there. He lives there, but he's destroying our roads and drastically impacting on our property values. They're going straight down because nobody's going to want to buy up there when you're afraid to go around a curb and maybe have run into a dump truck or something. Mm-hmm. And Sheriff, I know that you had some people up there monitoring issues with the dump truck, and I'd really like to know the number of calls that you get concerning dump trucks up on Brooks Hill and everything. I'd love to hear that number because I'm sure it's a lot. Because people are scared to drive on it because they get run off the road. So again, I'll shut up and leave you alone, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. You got an extra copy of that for the clerk here?
Sir?
You got an extra copy of those photos for the clerk?
I'll give her mine.
Thank you, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Right.
Everybody's got one.
yes,
Right.
sir. And to help you, Mr. Lady, if you come back again, we have a nice video system. You know, if you have them on the digitized, we can play them up on the screen.
Well, I didn't know whether you did or not, or whether or not I could use it because I had the little
Sure.
Jump drive.
We-
I had that to put in it. I was hoping I could, but I was also told that I need to bring it in like a week prior and all that stuff, and
Okay.
I didn't have it.
That's okay.
So I tried to put something together that at least you can feast your eyes on.
Yes, sir. Thank you
Thank you,
so
Lady.
much. They called
Russell.
yesterday.
Russell Weaver.
Russell and James Tipton called, and we chatted with both of them about getting some support for Walt up there. as well with weight and measures to, or enforcement, let's put it that way. Did that help you, Magistrate?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that, we've had a terrible time getting the state to do anything anymore.
Right.
They're broke and all this other stuff. That presentation would be good, to have our state rep to walk
Right.
through there and see that and get in, because he's the one who's gonna make the decision on fixing that road.
I'd love to walk with him, but,
You'll have to call him.
you all can make a decision on keeping the zoning residential or agriculture and not allowing that sort of business up there.
All right.
Because that's what's
All right.
wrong.
And like I said, Mr. Tippin did call me yesterday and I talked with him.
All right.
He's supposed to be putting, Mr. Weber and Mr. Nemes in contact with me, and that's what I'm pushing to do is actually physically take them up on that road and show them.
Mhm.
And I also have a lot of dash cam video. If I knew we could play it in here, I would have brought it in.
Right.
But, I mean, it's in my truck on a micro SD chip right now, if it can be played.
I don't know if we, I'd have to look and see if we can play micro SD. I know we can do the flash drives. So, and which gentleman are you signed up?
Rob Becker.
Okay, do you need to speak some more, Rob, while we're on this same topic, or?
Yeah, I'd like to say, I know I've been talking with Rob, and we've talked about this a lot. What I'd like to address is a lot on the safety issue. Now, I know Judge Summers and Magistrate Mitchell, you've been fielding calls for this for over 2 years, because we've been making the calls. And we just feel there's no progress being made. The safety of our residents up there is basically, we feel, is taking second seat to this guy's business. There's nothing being done, no safety for us up there. You've got the pictures of the guardrails leaning back. It's not a matter of when, it's a matter of who gets hit. And they're gonna get sent into those guardrails, which aren't gonna hold. They're gonna go down that bank, and there's gonna be deaths. And it's an everyday occurrence. Every day we have to pull off the road with those trucks going by and risk damaging our vehicles to get out of their way. The other option is getting hit and us getting hurt. And we shouldn't have to live that way. I live on Wicker Lane, and I've been working from home where I have a clear view of the end of Wicker Lane right at Brooks Road. And daily, we see, my wife and I see those trucks line up 2 and 3 deep right at the end of Wicker Lane, waiting on the other trucks coming through that bend by the 8 mile mark. And they sit there and there'll be 2 or 3 lined up to go through, waiting on 2 or 3 to come up through it. Just yesterday, I ran into a situation coming back up to my house. I was following a dump truck, and there was an oversized flatbed coming out of that property, because when I was on my way out, I had seen it coming in with equipment. It was leaving that property coming out, and if we'd have been probably 30 seconds forward of where we were, the dump truck and that flatbed would have met in that bend. And I guarantee you, no one would have been able to go anywhere, because they cannot make it through there. And I understand the legal aspects of the road, it being a state road, but we've got to look at the safety of our residents, not only with the safety on the road, but this business. This business creates a a noise nuisance. All right, 24 hours a day, my property drops off behind me and rises up to where he's dumping. So I hear every tailgate slam, every truck moving. When he starts bringing out the graders and the heavy equipment to flatten it off, we can actually feel the vibration in the ground from his operation. And as I understand it, this is, in order to do this, he would probably need a zoning for light industrial. And as I understand it, that area is still zoned agricultural. So if he doesn't have the proper zoning, why are we allowing his business to continue operating up there? And it is a business, you can check J&E Trucking and Excavating. That is his business, he is licensed, but he is basically operating a terminal off of Brooks Road. And that's what we need to look at. And with the zoning, the way I understand the zoning, he's required to have noise barrier and not allow the noise and the vibrations to affect the neighbors. And that's, that's our biggest complaint is, as Rod said, it's taken our home values down. You know, no one's gonna wanna live up there with all that going on, and now there's a possibility of another operation starting up right next to it, which is just gonna make it a prolonged fight that we've already been in for 2 years. And, you know, as Rod said, we appreciate your time and listening. We're just asking for some speedy action to try and help the safety of the residents up there on the hill.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Lindsay Hammonds.
Hello, my name is Lindsay Hammonds. I live at 987 Brooks Schoolhouse Road. My family and I manage and maintain the Brooks Ballpark. I spoke about this a little bit last time, so I'll try not to take up too much of your guys' time. But our concern is just, you know, we have a lot of gatherings for the community at the park, and we have people playing softball and baseball. So we're just concerned somebody's gonna pull out of there and just get hammered. I mean, most of those trucks are 4 tons, 6.5 tons, and when you're coming down off that hill, I just don't see how they can control in inclement weather a 6.5 ton vehicle coming down. If they get squirrely, I just don't see how anybody can handle that type of a weight. If they get in the other lane or something, I just don't see how that would be manageable. Like I'd spoken last time, my daughter and I had almost got hit head on after cutting the grass at the ballpark. And it's just really a scary thing to see. And I'm hoping and praying that something gets done. I know they run until 2 and 3 in the morning. And it's like a brigade. I mean, it's like one after another, after another, after another. And you'll see them just going up the hill and coming down the hill. So, I mean, you guys did a great job, and I second everything they said. I support it 100%, but I see the community suffering, and I just hope that something gets done. So, thank you guys for your time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Lindsay. Phyllis Underhill, Schoolhouse Road. You pass? It's enough. We hear your concerns. Wanda Stafford.
Hello, I want to thank you all for your time. I have spoken with Magistrate Mitchell, and I have tried to talk to Mr. Wooldridge's office, but there would be no relief for me, unfortunately. I'm here today to ask that we, as Bullitt Countyans, we need a lighting ordinance. We have got new people moving in, and they are taking advantage of the fact that we do not have them. They're using them as weapons against people, myself included. It's causing a waste of court time because people have to get injunctions to get relief from this. And it is also affecting personally, and I'm sure other people's also, because I know other people have problems with this, it's affecting my health. And whenever you lose sleep, it affects your health. And I have doctor statements that shows, and they have put up, years ago we had 3 street lights on our road, and our road is straight. It's a subdivision road. And the association at that time, about 15 years ago, decided they didn't need 3 in a row. We're talking about less than a 700-foot span on a straight road. On the corner, yes, they needed 1, but 3 of them in a row in that small an area was not necessary, so they took 1 down. Then recently, new neighbor moved in, they decided to put 1 up, and this is the neighbor that I have the injunction against. They decided to put another light up on my dime, the association money, and it shines into my windows. And then they decided, for years I suffered through it because we had it blacked out. It was the older style lighting, street lights, and I had them blacked out. I and my other neighbor did also, and it just shined out on the street, and it was the incandescent type of lighting. Now they've put in the new LEDs since we've gotten the new HOA president, and they know that lighting bothers me. They have decided to put in the new ones, and they are a blue light, and there is no shielding them. And I've got some pictures up there that I've showed you. They're extremely bright, full moon kind of bright, and even with plantation blinds, I still have trouble. It's like I'm lucky if I get 3 solid hours sleep a night, and that is as much as I can hope for. Usually I wake up for different reasons, and it's like it's pre-dawn outside, and I have trouble going back to sleep. Like I said, I do have a great many health issues, and lighting is one of the problems. I am sensitive to light, that bright daylight and bright light shining in my face. I have fallen because of these lights, and I am hoping that you can get an ordinance passed rather quickly, but I would really like something, because I did go to Salt River, and I spoke with the gentleman there, and he said because there is no ordinance, even with my medical record and a note from my doctor, that he could not take the one down in my yard, that there was no way that he could do it unless, one of you, somebody said, I was hoping, like I said, that Mr. Wooldridge would be the one, that maybe he could do something to have it taken down immediately, because, to put it bluntly, I don't want to go on dialysis. I've been fighting for years not to go on dialysis, and I really don't. And like I said, I know this is not just my problem, because I've spoke to Mr. Hatfield, and he's gotten complaints from other people for the same type of issue. And I thank you very much for your time. I think, I did want to mention also, I have a map here, if you'd like to look at that, that shows where the lighting is. And mine is number 25.
Okay, thank you, Wanda.
And that's how many of them there are. And they also, I have requested that the lights be shielded, pointed down, and put on motion for homeowners. And like I said, these street lights are just way too much, and I really need that one street light taken down as soon as possible, just for my health. Thank you all very much for your time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Wanda. Tammy Becker?
I'm the only one reading from paper because I spider web. So, in case you guys don't know, us women are bad about that. Talking about the dump trucks and the situation up there, I wrote this out because I wanted to put the things that was most important to me. This started about 2.5 years ago, and it has changed life from peaceful and beautiful to agonizing and dangerous. Mr. Belcher is literally right behind us across a gully my husband was telling you about. And so when he initially started grading to make way for the dumping, he would start as early as 3:30 and 4:30 in the morning, on Saturday and Sunday as well. This is every day of the week. Running up into the night, I mean, past dark, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. And the grating and the slamming of the dump truck doors. I mean, that was just, they're really loud. I mean, he wasn't even doing anything to stop them. It would be boom, boom, like 5 or 6 times in a row with every truck that came in there. Not considering his neighbors at all. Then came around telling all of us he was building a riding arena for his daughter. And that he should be done by August of this year. Well, it ramped up. It did not slow down. Then someone discovered recently that he was actually running a commercial business, so we've been lied to, and that did not help. Now we've got these huge trucks tearing up our roads and not staying in their lanes, coming right at us every time we get on the road. This is not just once in a while. This is and I only leave my house 2 or 3 days a week. And literally, every time I start into that curve, I fear for my life thinking, please God, don't let one of them trucks, because every time they do, they about shove me into the guardrail, every time. I've been behind them coming up Brooks Hill many times when they would bog down, and there would be cars in front of me and behind me, and I'm thinking, they're gonna roll back on us, because the guy couldn't get it to go. And at times, he'd have to back into where the mail carrier lives, because they couldn't get out of the way, or they'd be too far up ahead, they couldn't do that. So, you know, I'm thinking they're gonna roll back on somebody and kill somebody one of these days. My husband and I were leaving to go camping Friday, the 21st, pulling our camper, pull off our road, go start into that curve, and here comes one, and about put us over in that ditch that's literally 3 to 4 foot deep. And then we get around the curve, start up the hill, and here's one this far in our lane coming straight at us, and the jerk wouldn't even get over. We had to get over. I'm sorry, I'm irate about this. I want this to stop, because it's not gonna be a matter of if, it's gonna be a matter of when. Somebody is gonna be hurt severely or killed. Then let's see, lost my place here. This is horrifying, and it needs to stop. Why does it take a tragedy to get people to open their eyes? Many have called only to get, he's doing nothing wrong. And if Gawler Trucking is allowed to do this too, there will be accidents and deaths. Please don't let this happen.
They're the ones that supposedly bought that other 75 acres that actually the back of it adjoins his property. It's at the corner of Brooks Hill and Mount Elmira Road. They've got 9 or 10 big dump trucks full of gravel already dumped there. And to me, he's just waiting on to see if the zoning passes and everything so he can build his road for his truck to gravel. That will not slow anything down, that will increase it, because now we'll have 2 people up there with commercial zoning so they can drive their dump trucks and create more traffic, more hazard, and further damage roads, property, et cetera, et cetera. What we got that we can only count on is you guys.
Mhm.
You guys are the only ones that can help us.
Well, we're trying.
Thank you so much.
And,
Dennis, what is this ordinance you've been telling me about forever, the nuisance ordinance?
Well, there is a nuisance ordinance. There was a nuisance ordinance put in effect in the early part of the 90s when Judge Armstrong was here. And that nuisance ordinance is in effect, and Sheriff Scholler and everything was here at the same time. And he's familiar with that nuisance ordinance also.
okay,
I mean, this shouldn't be any different than somebody playing loud music at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night and people are trying to sleep. This should be no different.
Yeah.
And also too, I apologize, last time it was spoken that there was a AAA rating, and on the Kentucky Transportation website, Steve's note just handed this to me, it is actually rated for just single A's on the Hannah's defense, if you have it.
Class A highway versus Class AAA, and that's down at the 10.8 mile marker where 1526 meets 1020.
44 to 1020. Yeah, from 44 all the way to.
Yeah, that's what he's got, but I'm talking about Brooks Hill Road itself.
Yeah, that's Brooks Hill Road.
No, 44 is not Brooks Hill Road.
It's from 40, it's Brooks Hill Road from 44.
Mile marker 0 to 10.5 is Class A.
10.8 is Class A. 10.8 to the 10 mile marker is Class A highway only. Once you get past the 10 mile marker on up Brooks Hill, it's AAA.
No, according to their website, it's only single A.
Yeah, single A, 44,000 pounds.
okay, well, we'll get with,
Okay, I'm not gonna get into that argument, I mean, I'm just saying,
yeah,
single red and got from
yeah,
the state.
and to help y'all with this in some time, that's a good point, and we'll further the discussion with transportation and make sure we get clarity on it. That's something we can do.
Just to let you know on that, because I spoke with Sergeant Morris, I'm sure you talked with him. Where he's getting around the weight rating is, he's running a truck ability to take his trucks to his terminal, because it's within 5 miles of Highway 65. But that's where, you know, we need your help if he's running a terminal. I mean, I consider that light industry. That's the way that land needs to be zoned in order for him to run that.
Right. Okay, that's a good point. Thank you, Mr. Becker. Teresa White?
Hi, good morning. I'm Teresa White. I live at 5644 South Preston Highway, and I'm here also in conjunction with my fellow neighbors about safety issues concerning traffic. We have a subdivision proposed directly across the street from me, and somehow it's been sneakily annexed into the city of Shepherdsville instead of county, and it is zoned commercial. And now they're trying to put in 100 homes on 20 acres. Okay, a month ago, it took me 1 hour and 45 minutes to get to my home from Brooks, Kentucky. My husband and I worked 2 jobs. I wrote 2 checks to the feds and to the state over $6,000 in taxes this year. Now, I'm here speaking, I want my representation to represent me and these citizens that's already living in this county, struggling with dangerous traffic situations over and over daily. I fear every time I turn into my driveway about getting rear-ended on Preston Highway. I would like to see more representation from our sheriffs and our police, more ticketing on Interstate 65. I want to see better signage of slow down, more traffic signs. I work in downtown Louisville. I'm doing 75 on Interstate 65. I have people passing me up, giving me dirty looks because I'm going too slow. And I'm already going 5 miles over the speed limit. And it's because people are going too fast. If we had more people, police doing some more ticketing on 65, it would get people to slow down and we wouldn't be having these major accidents. Ticket some of these trucks going up and down their roads that are destroying our infrastructure, that shouldn't be going in places they shouldn't be going. We've got these tractor-trailer trucks, when we shut down Interstate 65, going up and down Preston Highway, tearing up these little bridges over creeks. It is a huge safety concern, and I'm very concerned when you shut down Interstate 65 for 6, 8, 10 hours, and we have gridlock for miles around, and I have an elderly parent that lives with me, and I have to call 911, and I can't get anybody to my home, and he's gonna die right there. It is a huge safety concern. We have got to start doing more things for the citizens of Bullitt County for safety issues. It's not about money for me. I want to see more safety concerns for the citizens of Bullitt County and Shepherdsville. It's all it boils down to. Put more signage up, start ticketing people more, get some more patrols on Interstate 65, something to help us. It's getting scary, and my American dream that I worked so hard to have here in Bullitt County is becoming a nightmare to get to. And it's not fair. It's not fair to me as a tax-paying citizen that I have to fear today, am I gonna be able to get to my home in a decent amount of time? And when it takes 1 hour and 45 minutes to get to my home from Brooks, Kentucky, it's a nightmare. It is an absolute nightmare. And as a concerned citizen and a taxpayer, I really am begging you all to give us some more support. get the sheriffs out there. We're going broke. The county didn't have any money. Write some more tickets, make some money or something. I would, you know, I'm serious, you know?
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you all for your time, and thank you very much.
Chris, thank you. We have,
As far as writing tickets, just to know, the county doesn't make money on writing tickets. The sheriff's office doesn't make money on writing tickets.
Where's that money go?
It goes to the state of Kentucky. And your highway, Preston Highway, is, the state of Kentucky claims and demands that we give them the responsibility and the authority over Preston Highway. It's Highway 61, State Highway. Same with Highway 44, same as Highway 1526. If I go out there and I send deputies out there and they start saying what you can do and what you can't do, if this fiscal court starts just saying, you're hitting the right track on the zoning may be an issue, because that's off the highway, but the highway itself, the state of Kentucky is very jealous of its authority over those state highways. We can't even put a speed limit sign up on those state highways. So, and then as far as the annexation, once it gets annexed into the city of Shepherdsville, the county doesn't have any authority over it any longer as far as the roadways go. The city of Shepherdsville has the authority. In terms of ticketing, I can take and have deputies out there. We control where our deputies go, and we have countywide jurisdiction. However, if they write a ticket, the money, the fine money and everything goes straight up to Kentucky, and Kentucky dribbles out whatever it chooses to send back down by way of taxes. This court does not have the authority to make Governor Andy Beshear or any of those folks up there, the Department of Transportation, they work for Andy Beshear, so forth. So that's your state representatives. Until they come back into session, they can't control what the governor does. So he's the guy that you need to get lined up with getting the Department of Transportation to come out there. I have spoken, this gentleman's spoken to a Sergeant Morris, I presume with the state, because I don't have a Morris on my staff.
He's KSP.
Okay, so I've asked them personally to come down here and work on Highway 1526. They tell me they can't. They left because they're saying that there wasn't something they could do. So with regard to all of that, that's unfortunately where you're at. Here's the situation. I have generally 4 to 5 deputies at most out to cover 300 square miles of Bullitt County. It costs a bit over or under $100,000 a year to maintain a deputy with a car, with equipment, with salary, with insurance and all of that. We need more. We desperately need more. But you pay your taxes. I'm trying to take and be as good a steward with your tax money as I possibly can. We've saved a tremendous amount of money since I've been trying to do that, and I came in office. However, to get more people out on the street, to be able to take and have them setting and just doing road or speed control and so forth, I've got to take and have more people, and it costs a little over, as I say, about $100,000 a year for a car, for equipment, for training, for everything with regard to a deputy. So we'll try. I noted down, what is your address, general address?
5644 South Preston.
Say that one more time.
I've got it.
5644 South Preston.
5644.
Yeah.
South Preston.
And I've got it, Walt.
Right down from 245 in Preston.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll see about getting somebody out there.
You could deputize me. I'll feel free to give out tickets.
Okay. Okay.
I've had some other folks offer to do that, and I do appreciate the offer.
Okay, we have one more, Eric Ferris.
Thank you very much, Judge, members of the court. I just wanted to clarify in relation to the River Homes matter. Yesterday, just before noon, I sent out to everyone here behind the dais, except for John and Walt, the information that was requested, the drainage information, the discussions with Robert Watkins, and what I learned from the Department of Transportation thus far. That was sent via email, which is listed on the website, and I assumed that was the right way to deliver that. I copied Ms. Hammond, who's one of the community leaders in Brooks, so that she could have that as well. A traffic study, if I'm understanding what you're looking for, Mr. Mitchell, is not going to be possible within 2 weeks. I'm not exactly sure where we got passed to in that motion, if it was 2 or 4, but in any event, we will look into that and respond as quickly as we can. But I just wanted to let you know I did provide information. You just didn't read it, Mr. Mitchell. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor.
No, I didn't hear you.
He said he emailed all the information.
You're supposed to do that.
Any discussion from the court?
Do it right here in court. Please,
Any discussion? Dennis, any comments?
on this here or what?
Dennis couldn't hardly understand him. I was relaying the information, and Mr. Ferris had said he had emailed all the information over yesterday.
Well, he talked to me a couple of weeks ago and everything. Everything you need to correspond with, you need to do it right here in fiscal court. Arthur Taylor was a circuit judge here for years. He was also a professor at the University of Louisville, and he told us never discuss any issues that was going to come before the fiscal court. It all need to be done before the whole body, and it need to also be done at the planning commission. And he informed us, and like I say, he's was a law professor at the University of Louisville, so that's really not prohibit people calling me about things that needs to come to fiscal court. Now, you may disagree with it. You may disagree with.
That's why I did not call
Hold on.
You told me you
Hold-
don't want to discuss by phone, and I respected that. I sent it by email and I sent it to everybody, Ms. Renfro too. So I don't know where else we're supposed to send these things,
Can't
Mr.
hear you.
Mitchell.
I can't hear you with that mask on.
Where else should we send it if we don't send it to your email address? And
Bring it right here. Bring it right here to fiscal court.
why is your email listed on the website if you don't use it?
I didn't list it on there.
I'll do that in the future.
Okay,
And I'll provide a copy of what we did.
that'd be fine.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Eric. Any comments? Dennis?
Now, is it time for our time?
Yep.
I'd ask Felicia and everything if you'd come up just for a minute.
Dennis. Whoa.
I'd like to ask the court, and I'd like to make a motion that any development that we've got coming into the county and everything, that's in the county and everything, that we get a certified copy of the traffic flow and the drainage control. I need it to be certified.
You're saying certified, do you mean like a transportation study by an engineer?
That's correct.
Stamped and sealed?
It needs to go on your checklist because it's not on your checklist as now. And I think it's critical because we've got serious problems all over this county. We got 4 developments right now in the county that the soil erosion or the water flow and the traffic flow is a problem.
I'm gonna defer to Mr. Wooldridge on the legality of that, since it's not a regulation in our zoning regulations or subdivision regulations.
Right.
Currently.
Currently it's not, but I'd like to have it, I'd like to make a motion that it be added to your regulations.
Well, I actually prepared new subdivision regulations probably over a year ago. Passed them out to the commission. They're probably 2 to 3 times as in-depth as what we have. It does require, on any development, the ability of the planning commission to require a traffic study. Our current regulations do not. Unfortunately, I can tell you that in the last 9 months, it has not been addressed by the planning commission. I've redrafted them again, probably not more than 6 weeks ago, to lighten them up a little bit to see if that would maybe encourage them to move forward. But I've had no response whatsoever from any member of the planning commission.
And I will make copies of those proposed subdivision regulations again and hand them out to the planning commissioners, but it's in their hand.
All right.
We can override them.
Yes. No, we can. We can, Joe.
Request it, but they are the ones who normally adopt their regulations, and they will submit the regulations to every member of the Bullitt County Joint Planning Commission, which would be all the cities and fiscal court. And any of the legislative bodies can adopt them or decline to adopt them. If you adopt them, they will be effective within the county. Each city has the right to do their own regulations as well somewhat. not, the only thing you can do is talk to everybody who appoints the members on these boards. You have representatives, and fiscal court appoints certain representatives, so those are the people that you would want to contact and ask them to move these things forward.
Well,
Can I clarify something with John? So if the county, if fiscal court actually adopts those subdivision regulations, say Mount Washington wants nothing to do with the new regulations. So any development in Mount Washington does not need to meet those standards.
They have the ability to adopt their own
Right.
text amendments. The subdivision regulations would be adopted by the Joint Planning Commission, and once the Planning Commission adopts them, they are for Bullitt County, but the city would have the ability to relax or increase them if they so desire. Cities already have more stringent regulations than Bullitt County. We don't require 22 feet of asphalt with curb and gutters, but the city of Shepherdsville, city of Mount Washington, you want to build a subdivision, you will put curb and gutters, you will put storm drainage. We don't have that in our regulations at this point whatsoever. We only have, I think, basically a 20-foot pavement with a rock shoulder with about an 8.4 and 1 on the asphalt. That's our regulation. We do not require anything else. We don't require traffic. I have advised the zoning board multiple times on multiple cases that they need to consider the effects of traffic on approvals. They have passed subdivisions on 12-foot wide roads, and fiscal court unfortunately has adopted those and passed those very same zoning applications. So until somebody wants to really look hard and determine that if you're going to put a subdivision in and you are going to use substandard roads to get to it, somebody needs to build those substandard roads up to what we need before you go putting more subdivisions on.
Right. And to help, and to help Magistrate Mitchell here a little bit, we chatted with Felicia about this the other day. So to free up her time, she needs some more help to be able to write these regulations as well. Because this is not a 10-minute task or 15, it's very detailed. So if we can bank an approval to be able to hire a administrative assistant for Ms. Harper, we will be happy to do this.
I have
I
read
think-
many regulation updates in my previous
Right.
career that it's something I can do, I just don't have the time.
Yeah, well, I think it's something we obviously gotta, look at is finding some help, because, you know, obviously safety of the community is something that's a huge concern here. So if that's what's keeping us from writing some regulations, you know, we need to look at getting you somebody in the office. I think, and I'm hearing a lot of people talk here, and I've had a phone call after email after phone call about what's going on in my territory, and I've learned a lot through this process, I'll be honest. You know, I'm just a little over a year and a half into this position, and I'm a real estate broker and auctioneer, and I deal with real estate every day on a daily basis. But there's been a lot of very controversial things pop up here all at the same time. And I think that's going to continue to happen because that's the signs of how fast our community is growing, and we're having growing pains. And I've reached out to you directly to ask some ignorant questions that I didn't know the answers to. I've reached out to some other counties to find out what they're doing, and I most recently talked to Hardin County this week and talked to Adam, their planning and zoning director there, to find out what they're going through. You know, I'm always a big firm believer in you know, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. We're not the only county, we're not the only city, we're not the only cities that's going through this. There's people all across the state that's dealing with these troubles of growing fast, and how do you find that balance? And the biggest problem I found of politics, if you want to call it politics, is once I became in this office, is you have all these great ideals, you want to do all these wonderful things, but your hands are tied. There's other people that have to vote and agree with you. But the biggest challenge I think I found is, I appreciate you bringing these pictures here. It really shows what's going on. But the biggest issue is everybody working together. And what I mean by that is just Sheriff Scholler gave a great example about the sheriff's department the city police and the state police. Everybody's kind of got a different agenda, but they're there for the same reason, but it's communication. The same thing falls in line with what's going on in my territory. I represent Mount Washington in District 2, and there's a very controversial subdivision going on there. I've received a lot of phone calls. I've got a lot of emails about what's happening on Bethel Church. The interesting thing is, though, that went across the Planning and Zoning's board, and there was a meeting, and a lot of stuff happened there at the meeting, and they made a recommendation. But the reality of it is, as a fiscal court member, because that property owner asked to be annexed, nobody has to receive notice of that. To your point in the back, you never had to see notice because they wanted to be annexed. The city's going to take them in. So where we run into a challenge, Mr. Ferris is in the back, and that's a whole nother issue because it is in the county. But where I see the biggest problem of us moving forward as a community and as a county is working together. I know, and when I say working together, I mean the county working with the city and the city working with the state, or vice versa, because so many of our roads, they intersect. County intersects with city intersects with state, and it goes back and forth. But the issue is, John Woodridge brought up a great point. Somebody needs to fix these roads before they start. There was a recent Mount Washington City Council meeting. The city council members are actually, sending messages to me suggesting that we're going to need your help on this county road. But we know we're strapped for finances. We get less than 10% of what everybody's property tax bills are, and we have to fund all these different agencies. So I've been very upfront with the people that I've talked to in my Mount Washington area. I do not have a vote, nor does anybody else here have a vote on what's going to happen on Bethel Church. That's a city council vote. So then it comes back on me. At a recent council meeting, it was suggested, well, everybody's concerned about the traffic. Everybody's concerned about the traffic. And Mr. Wooldridge has said the city has very specific restrictions and ordinances about what happens when they develop a subdivision. But that leads them to be, how do you get into that subdivision? You get in that on a very narrow county road. And then that turns the responsibility around, well, it's the county's job to fix the traffic. We're going to approve a subdivision, and we're going to have nice roads in the subdivision, but in order to get to that subdivision, you have to travel an inadequate road. And I really firmly believe, regardless of what the situation is, or regardless of what's been done in the past, there's going to have to be at some point some assistance, because the county can't absorb all these costs. There's going to have to be some assistance from that developer and from that city in those particular cases. I've reached out to Hardin County, and Hardin County's dealing with the same issues, and they've been very specific about what happens in the county. Although he said that Adam, the director, when I talked to him, he said that they're dealing with the same problem about counties and cities working together. Now, I don't know, and I was elected to this to represent the people in my district, and I hope somebody out there can find an answer. I did speak with spoke with Mayor Armstrong for great length about what's going on at Bethel Church. And he has concerns about traffic as well. But I don't know what we do. I may just be venting here because I've received a lot of calls about Bethel Church. And this all falls hand in hand because there's some controversial things going on in the county. And until the cities start working better with the county, and the county starts working better with the city, and all those work better with the state, none of these problems are going to get resolved. And I think we're doing a better job. I know you've really strengthened your relationship, I think, as a judge with the mayors across the town, but even the mayors, they're just a tie-breaking vote at the end of the day. It's the city council members, and I know personally I need to build a better relationship with my council members. But just I just want to touch on Mount Washington and be selfish about my district, because I know there's several people in here, and we've talked. I've told every constituent that reached out to me, that traffic is a concern and we're going to be looking at it. But I cannot make any guarantees as a magistrate about the improvements that we can make to Bethel Church Road if it is accepted at the next Mount Washington City Council meeting. Hardin County has done some very specific things. They've required certain amount of right-of-way. I don't know what our specific ordinance, John had touched on it briefly, but I know Hardin County's looked at something very close, and they required 40 foot of dedicated right-of-way and 18-foot minimum road width before a subdivision can even be entertained in the county. Now, the problem we run into, though, is how can we as a county do something to prohibit the city from taking a piece of property, and then you have to travel on our road to get to that city. I don't understand how the city can come in and take property, and they can require all these things inside their development, but the only way to get to that development is on a county road, for an example, and we have no control what can be done. That's just where I think we're gonna have to, because there's not, even talking to Hardin County, there's not anything in my understanding that ties the county and the city together before the city can annex it. I don't think there's anything the county can do that can keep or prohibit the city from doing that. Once it's done, then it's our responsibility for that road. Unfortunately, you know, it's a double-bladed sword, because the cities are gonna selfishly take that, you know, take that property, but then we're kind of stuck with trying to figure out a way to how can we improve traffic after the fact. Everybody you ever talk to, even when I ran for office, I felt like Bullitt County has always put the cart in front of the horse in terms of infrastructure. But after getting in this office, now I'm seeing how difficult that is to prevent from happening. And I don't know if this makes sense to anybody, but it's when the cities take that property like you're talking about, we have absolutely no control of what they do and what they require, but yet we are still burdened as a county to figure out how to improve it after the fact, where it should be done beforehand. So I'm just venting a little bit. No answers probably to nobody, but trust me, I care about our community and I care about what's happening in my district and the entire county. But it's some tough decisions. It really is. Sorry, I went on a rant there.
Can't you put something in as an ordinance where if they're going to take that property, then they have to also fix the road getting into it?
No, to help you right now, no, and those are laws that has to be.
Yeah, and that's what, but why, I don't know, but it's something we deal with, the insurance premium tax, you know, and everything else. The cities have so much control.
Council called me and said, why are y'all so mad that we're annexing property? You're still getting tax money off of it. I said, the reason we're upset about it, because you can go just like that piece of property down there, man. They go right down 61 to the state road and annex the middle of the road. Could be 40 miles or 4 miles or 10 miles from their jurisdiction and annex a piece of property. Well, in between all that, it's all law. We can't touch it. And I said, the reason we're upset about you taking property ain't because we're not getting tax money. It's because we don't have control of how the people get there. And that's the reason we're upset about it. Same way Sean was saying, it's nothing to do with anything. They put us in this position. Sometimes I don't like to be in this position, to be honest with you. But we are. This is my thing. So we have to make bad decisions, good decisions, whatever decisions. But yes, if there's anything that we could do, ordinances, resolutions, we would do it. But state law is.
All right,
Uncle Andy.
there you go. Thank you, Joe. Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any other discussion?
It looks like my motion got shot down, didn't it?
What motion?
I put a motion on the floor that the erosion is, the certification on drainage and traffic control, or traffic study.
I still think you should do it.
Please?
I still think you should do it, do a study on the traffic there.
Well, I do too.
I don't know how they're gonna do it.
I really do. I think it needs to be done on all of the subdivisions, everything we do. I really do. So,
And the same thing there on the running street, they started giving it apartments and they quit. They did that across from McDonald's. They started, they went broke because there was nothing over there.
Yeah.
400 vehicles coming in and out
So,
day and night at a minimum. There's DPS, the semi trucks coming out as well.
so what's your motion again, Dennis? Because the discussion got so
I wanted
lengthy,
to
we
add it
forgot about it.
to the list and everything that planning and zoning goes through and everything on the traffic control and the drainage control. I don't need them both certified that they're done right. And that's done before any approval can be done on any of the developments on the subdivision.
So as of right now, Felicia, planning and zoning, when they make a recommendation, because we talked and, you know, and I learned some, for a lot of people that may or may not know, planning and zoning is simply making a recommendation. And then it moves to what's considered, correct me if I'm wrong, the legislative body. The legislative body is, if it's an issue that's in the county, is us, is a fiscal court. If the city has already agreed to annex that property and accept that property, all the decisions are being made with that independent city that has annexed it. We're not, no. Yeah, I understand you're not, but my question is, when planning and zoning makes that recommendation, right now, some developers and in some cases may or may not, there is no requirement, is what you're suggesting, for a traffic study.
During the rezoning portion, no. So when they actually submit their subdivision plan, they are required to submit drainage plans that are stamped and sealed by an engineer. So they're currently doing that, saying that they are going to take responsibility for all the drainage that that subdivision creates, and they're gonna contain it somehow on their property and go into the existing, pipes.
Well, that's
So
true.
that's one of the stipulations. They have to have that stamped drainage plan. We, as planning and zoning and code enforcement, does not have an engineer on staff to review those to make sure they're correct. So we are relying on the stamp and seal of the engineer that they're doing it correctly. That's how it's always been, because we don't have an engineer to actually, I don't know what the calculations mean. I can look at it and say it's stamped and sealed. That's certifying that it's correct. Transportation, so if it's in a city for a subdivision, I rely on either the city engineer or whoever they have designated as their traffic control, that their roads can actually handle the traffic. That I have to have that approval before I will approve the subdivision plat. But when it goes into the county, if there's a subdivision in a county, which is few and far between, we don't have anybody, an engineer that has that capability of saying yes or no. But if it's in the city, they have a city engineer. Hillview, Mount Washington, Shepherdsville, they all review those plans and send their approval to me before we stamp and record the record plat.
Well, that might be where I'm not cutting in front of you, but where I feel like maybe the disconnect is, even some of the city engineers, when they look at this, they're developing a subdivision where the roads inside that subdivision are adequate to handle the traffic.
Right.
But they're not looking, the
at-
city engineers aren't looking outside of that subdivision to get in and out, are they? Or are,
They should be.
okay.
I mean, honestly, they should be. Yeah.
I think a lot of people are unaware of the hairpin curve that comes through there. And I think really if you just look at the community as a whole, that speaks volumes. I mean, we had probably at least 100 people just from Brooks in general at the planning and zoning meeting. And just there to voice their concerns and opinions, and we're just scared. That's it, we're just afraid. I mean, we have the issue with the dump trucks, and then we're gonna have these, almost 400 vehicles at a minimum per home coming in and out, and it is just so terrifying because there's two entrances. And, both of those entrances are terrifying. The hairpin curve, there's no way two vehicles can fit through there at one time. And if somebody speeded through there, and just right before we had our fiscal court meeting, there was an overturned semi right at 10:20, and that blocks up the road quite a bit of the time. And in the event there were an emergency, they would have to come the opposite way. Well, if you've got 400 cars coming in and out every day and night, I can't say that they're gonna be able to get it through the other way either. I mean, I definitely understand development. Like I said, I'm a real estate agent, 100%, but I think growth is important, but it's just as important as how you grow is just as important, and it's essential to make sure people are safe.
Felicia, just real quick, we'll get out of here. What's the average? I mean, I'm not putting cost over safety or safety over cost, but what's the average cost maybe for a traffic study? Is there such a thing, average cost and timeline? How long? Because I mean, I think it's something really simple to ask.
It's been quite a few years since I personally had to deal with it. Usually it's maybe a month to produce.
And then there's several agencies around the area that's readily available.
There are private engineering firms that actually specialize in transportation studies for new developments.
But it sounds like from the drainage standpoint, the drainage is really already addressed. They have to submit a drainage
Yes.
plan with a subdivision, but the traffic is the missing component, is that correct?
Correct.
And I do want to state too, I mean, I'm obviously not a professional whenever it comes to drainage and basins and stuff like that. But the lady that spoke up last time, she had had issues with flooding recently. She is below, actually, I think she's going to end up being below the basin. So I think that's probably going to pose an issue too. So I think you're going to see a lot of issues on that road as well. So I apologize.
I have a question, Sean. Is there something that we can do to prevent developments or something from being able to go through the annex process after or while they're also going to planning and zoning? Because like with my development, they submitted their proposed planning and zoning. They wasn't at the time annexed into the city. It wasn't until right before the meeting for planning and zoning that they got the second reading and they annexed it.
John and I talked about that to try to address that I think we need to make it, in our current regulations, it doesn't say anything like that. We need to make sure it is done and has gone through the annexation process before they actually submit a rezoning application.
Because that would have prevented it from becoming city, and it would have came to you all properly before. And
Can you say that again, what she's kind of, can you take what she asked and kind of make the or what did you talk to John about? There's a way to do what she's asking, is there?
We can address it in our updated subdivision regulations or.
But there's no, I mean if I'm wrong, there's no way for anyone to stop the city to annex a piece of property if the owner says they want it annexed.
That's correct.
So they can walk in and say, I want my property annexed, and they don't have hearings, nothing, you're annexed, if they get a vote of the. When I ran for magistrate, this was the most fascinating thing and mind-blowing thing for me, is trying to figure out whose door to even think about knocking on, is I had requested a map from the city of Mount Washington, and I grew up thinking, just even in real estate, thinking that before you got annexed, that you had to touch another piece of property and then eventually grow out. But when I looked at Mount Washington's map, I mean, it looked like the solar system. You got city here, city here, city there, city there. Your neighbor could be county, your neighbor could be city. I'm even hearing stories about people going to vote and they voted for city council members, and then they found out they're in the county. They voted for magistrates and they found out that they should have been voting for city council members. I mean, it is really so inconsistent where cities have continuously annexed these properties. But I mean, to answer your question, I hope that it don't sound like there's anything we can do right now. If somebody says, I want to be a part of the city of Mount Washington, or I want to be part of the city of Shepherdsville, I don't, unless they, yeah.
Is there a way, like, you have to, when you submit your proposal, you have to stay with wherever you, like, you have to follow the regulations of, if you was county, when you submitted it, you have to follow and go through the county process, and then after you go through the county process, then the city can annex you and do whatever. But if you submit it and you've already been annexed and you are part of the city, then you go through the process of going through planning and zoning and then going to the city. Instead of trying to do it at the same time, to where you was county, you submitted it, then you went to the city, got annexed, planning and zoning meeting happened, all of a sudden no one knew you even got annexed, and finds out you have to go to the city, and like to go to the math. Does that make sense?
And as right now, to answer a question, there's not a way to stop that, is there? Or?
I'm going to ask applicants from here on out to finish that process prior to submitting.
Thanks a lot.
Good?
Sounds like we need to get some help, though, don't we?
Huh?
We need to get some help.
I guess.
Judge, one thing I need to clear up, I said that cost just a little below or a little above $100,000 to put a
More
deputy
than
on the
that.
street annually. I had people shudder after I stepped out and said that. That is incorrect. I had failed to think about the hazardous duty
Right.
match that we have to make,
Yep.
which the state says is 44%. So
Right.
whatever I pay a deputy, if I pay a deputy $50,000 a year, the county has to take and send to the state government an additional 44% of that, which is gonna be a little bit like $24,000 a year that we have to send up there to match that hazardous duty retirement. So it winds up being, it's about $150,000 to $160,000 a year
For
to
deputy.
put a deputy on the
Right. Yeah, I thought you were letting us off easy this year.
That is a deal. Yeah.
Anyway.
Dennis has got a motion on the floor, and I'll be honest, I'll second the motion. I think I know what's going on in my community. It's not a county issue, it's a county-city deal, but I think we need to look at ways to prevent that from, we're all a team here, county, city, everybody, and we're trying to do what's best for the entire county. And I think moving forward, I don't see anything wrong with, I don't know if we have to specify a number of lots or anything like that, but I think it's something, I would make a motion that we look into it. I don't know if we really have the details to make it specific, because we might want to suggest that, this is 10 houses or less or something along that lines, but I definitely, because I don't know if somebody's wanting to put 3 houses like the gentleman here, if he's got a 5-acre lot and I think he was trying to sell 3 1-acre lots. I don't know that he necessarily needs to do a traffic study, but there might be a minimum, I'm talking out loud, of homes that would require a traffic study. So I don't know, I think there's still some things to work out with that, but I would second the motion of looking into the fact of implementing and adopting some type of ordinance that requires any developer to do a traffic study, but I just don't know. I'm kind of ignorant here. I don't know if we just say, if you're going to do a development or subdivision, you have to do a traffic study. I don't know that I agree with that.
Well, I'm strictly complaining or concerned about the safety of the people. If we got to get the responders, the EMS, Sheriff's Department, the Fire Department into an area and everything, and if we don't have a traffic study showing how this traffic is going to involve these people and everything, well, we can't get to, we're going to lose some people's lives. And if we don't nip this thing in the bud now, it'll never go away, because it seems like every month we got a new development coming in.
What is the definition? Help me out here. What is the definition of a subdivision or development? Is it more than one home, plural? Does that become or how do you? 3 lots or more?
But like you said, a traffic study is not needed for a small development like that.
Yeah.
Those are going to be for your bigger developments of, 50 homes or more.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
This is a large development.
Yeah, you go.
I'd like to close this out. I mean, I hate pushing stuff next meeting.
What I'm
Yeah.
saying is they've already, county attorneys already drew up new regulations for traffic studies and all that involved. Where I'm going back to is can we do it, or does the planning and zoning commission have to? Okay, you know what I'm saying? We can't.
Y'all need some new planning and zoning people. Thank you.
Who wants to stand up? There we go. There you go, Judge, get all their names.
All right, we'll get them.
So, and that return is can we write an ordinance to make them do that, or do they have to?
Everything we do on zoning is with an ordinance.
Okay.
That's why you do zoning ordinances at each meeting when you're approving a zoning case or you're not approving a zoning case. But I'll have to research for you whether or not county independent of the zoning board would have the ability to require a traffic study.
That addresses the legality of it.
Yep.
Are you okay with him looking into that then,
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess, and finding out if legally we as a fiscal court, is that the question, can adopt an ordinance that the planning and zoning has to follow?
Planning commission, who already has the ability to do so.
Okay. Yeah, just as long as we're moving forward on it. That's my main concern. Because this problem ain't gonna go away.
No, it hasn't went away, and it's been here for literally the last 10 or 15 years as well.
It is.
We had no buns in the oven. I'm gonna speak up because this is a real sore spot with me all the way around. We work with all the mayors. They've spent more time in Frankfurt. We've got the largest road budget ever in the history of this county right now, coming back to repair Highway 44, 245, 480, where the major congestion's at, to where there's the lady who takes an hour and a half to be able to funnel traffic off, especially on Highway 61 now. It's no different than 44. There's no shoulders. And when you get to the ancillary roads, funding is no different. Myself and the mayors, we have very little control off of those side roads because the legislative body, and that's where the rubber hits the road, guys. It's all about the legislative bodies in these cities. To answer your question, it's like mom and dad. We tell them no here in the county, they run to the city. Who says yes? Mount Washington's not special. You look at Shepherdsville's map, Hillview, and all the rest of them, they're no different than what they are. And we have been through this as an administration now. We've only been here for 18 months. 18 months, guys, not 2 years or whatever. So we're finally getting our arms around this to be able to get more funding back into this community for roads. And weight and measures, I don't know where they're at with it. I talked to Representative Tipton yesterday along with Representative Weber, and I didn't get a chance. Mr. Nemes hasn't returned the call, but I'm sure he has by now. So we are trying to do what we can with Brooks Hill. It's sort of an anomaly. Everybody wants to point a finger at it, but we're doing the best we can with all that as well. And on those side roads with the developments, it's a true issue. We tried to push that through in the last planning and zoning meeting, and it was shot down because the developer ran to the city when we asked for a means of egress and for the development out on Highway 61. So this is where we're at as a county right now, and I hear what Sean and Dennis is both saying. We're going to move us forward because we done already had discussions with Felicia to move us forward because we're here to fix problems. You know, in the world I came from, we fixed a problem. We didn't belabor it one way or the other, and that's what we're here for. Myself and my deputy judge, we came from the private sector, a lot of experience. We're not a novice at what I'm going to say problems or listening to folks to get resolution on problems too. So it's just taking a little bit of time, and because truly in the world I came from, I couldn't believe how slow government moves. I know the press has told me to slow down, that government is a process, it's not a business, but we're running it as a business, and we are moving forward. And for all of you who did raise your hand, I talked to Candy this morning about putting it on the website, because we look for folks all the time, or let's say constituents, to sit on these boards. I mean, I got a plethora of boards this long, literally. Can't beg anybody to sit on them. So we're going to put it on the website, no different than what we did for the ordinance and all the fun stuff. So please look at our website, our Facebook page. We're trying to keep the public informed with what we're doing. Communication was a huge tool in the world I came from. That's why I sat here and didn't interfere with none of this discussion. Wanted to hear everything that they had to say. This way we can facilitate something to get the common good for everyone in this room, and we'll get there. You know, I traveled Brooks Hill to Orchard Brook for years. I know what dirt on that road does when you come down that hill and it's a little bit wet. It's no different than ice. So this is where we are. So Dennis, are you happy with what we're going to do with this?
As long as we're moving forward on everything, and like I say, we got with the motion and second and everything, we can go ahead with it and get a vote on it and everything. But I think we need to keep moving forward because these problems will never go away.
No, and they're going to get worse. And the biggest thing about this is we have to develop a plan. Growth is going to happen in this community. We're at 85,000 people now. But what we do need to do, we need to plan for the future to be able to make sure that growth is organized and controlled so we don't have any more of the one-lane side roads like Hubbard's Lane. I'll pick on it in Mount Washington. It's so narrow, you can't get through there. But yet they built, I don't know how many homes. I mean, since I was campaigning up there 20 months ago, I couldn't see the end of the homes when I was up there again the other day. So it's the community's going to grow. There's going to be development, and to help you all with the four-way stop at Brooks, that is on the highway, on our highway out plan. because that's a real area of concern. It's an area that's going to develop, and we want to develop it the right way because it is so close to Louisville. Louisville's coming this way, and what we have to do, we have to manage that growth because it's going to happen. Whether I'm sitting here in this chair or these other four gentlemen, it's going to eventually get here, but it needs to be in the right way, and we're here to help. And we're asking for a little bit of patience is what I'm asking for, because we do have a limited staff. We live on a shoestring. Walt said it best at the last meeting. We get 6.4 million. The library gets 6.1 million. So do the math. We do a ton of stuff for this community. EMS, dispatch, jail, county clerk. So it's all about resources that we have available. And you just need to be a little patient. We're trying to get that revenue stream back up too. And that's me. Dennis, we'll take a vote on your motion to improve
Okay. Now,
the
I got
subdivision with the
I got one
traffic.
thing after that for John Woodard. Short one. You ready? You ready?
Yeah,
Ready for the vote?
yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
Andy, call the roll.
Yes.
Magistrate Summers?
Yes, it's okay.
Magistrate Mitchell?
Yes.
I feel like it.
Yes.
Magistrate Lazo?
You call him magistrate?
Okay.
Call me Sam.
Yeah, it's okay. And any other comments?
No, the other thing I wanted to ask John and everything, because John and Joe Ray Hill and Sean and I have been talking about this and everything on the framing ordinance and everything. Have you got that ready for us to look at that?
Are you talking about the building regulations?
Building.
The what?
Yeah, you're wanting to upgrade your building code?
That's correct.
I'll have it ready for you. I'll let you look at it before the next meeting, make sure all the members have it, maybe you'll be able to vote on it.
Would you get us all a copy of it and everything for the meeting?
Right.
Appreciate it. That's all I got.
Okay. All right, any other comments from the magistrates before we? I just have one more to help you all a little bit. What we have done for the folks on Bogart Lane, to be brutally honest with you, the state says there's not enough side road traffic to be able to put up a traffic light. We offered to put it up ourselves with county funds, and they're still pushing back on it. And then we have to date fed 50, how many thousand meals? 54,875 meals to the seniors in this community who are not able to get out during the pandemic. And we gave up other things to be able to do that, to take care of those in our community. I need a motion to adjourn. I'll make the motion to adjourn. Magistrate Ray Hill, 4th District Squire, seconds the motion. Candy, call the roll.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Magistrate Mitchell?
Yes.
Magistrate Lobson?
Yes.
Magistrate Lazo? Yes. Magistrate Ray?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Goodness, this meeting getting longer.
Yeah, we.